Welcome to the Talk-Jitsu podcast with host Oogie Mike, Joey Boretski, and me, Jordan Preisinger from Jordan Teaches Jiujitsu. We have a great episode for you guys today. We have a lot of great topics to talk about. And before we do, let's just kind of get started with, how our week has been or a month or whatever. And, just an update on us. So, Joey, I know you moved out to Edmonton for a science type job. And then when you got there, you got offered a jiu-jitsu job. And now you're teaching jiu-jitsu for a living. That's like pretty amazing. So, yeah, let's get your thoughts on that, and yeah, let us know how that went about.
Yeah, man, life works in mysterious ways, I guess. I don't know. Everything just kind of came together perfectly, and yeah, I ended up out here. I'm teaching jiu-jitsu full time now, which is kind of weird and something I didn't think would happen. But I don't miss working a 9 to 5. That's for sure. It's definitely a lot more fun just doing jiu-jitsu and teaching jiu-jitsu, and living that life. Yeah, it's been a blast getting used to a new city. I don't like how cold it is here, but I don't really get a choice in that. But yeah, other than that, like, I'm really happy.
Man, that worked out amazing. Do you feel like like your life has improved like considerably, going from like a 9 to 5 to actually doing what's your passion, or do you think or is it just kind of mostly the same and kind of just going with the flow?
Yeah, I'm a lot happier. I think it's kind of hard to explain, but like, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I guess I just didn't realize how much I really hated the fact that I had to give like 9-10 hours of every single day doing something that I didn't want to do. And you just kind of lose, like, it's just that thing you have to do. Like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I got to go spend the next 8 hours of my life doing something I really don't want to be doing. I've got to commute back and forth. And then like, finding the motivation to go to the gym afterwards and do the things you actually want to do is hard. But now it's like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, my thing I have to go do is teach jujitsu, which is something I wanted to do anyways. So it still kind of feels like, I'm sure you had this feeling like, when you stopped working and like at a 9 to 5 and just like had the gym, is that it almost feels surreal. Like, it can't be real life that I'm getting paid to do this thing I want to do.
Yeah, man, 100%. It felt exactly surreal. And like, because I quit real estate, like in, it was like my birthday basically in December. So like 4 months before the pandemic. So I went into jiu-jitsu full time, and I was just like, I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I get to do whatever I want all day. And, I can wake up whatever time I want. I can just do whatever I want. And it was like just insane. I can make money from jiu-jitsu. But then the pandemic happened, and then like this wasn't great timing that way. But now it's back on track and everything. And like, but is one thing like, do you ever worry that maybe you won't become as passionate about jiu-jitsu because it's become your job?
A little bit. Like, that is always kind of the worry in the back of the mind. And like, anytime you have to do something, you worry that like, am I going to start to resent the fact that I have to do this? I'm trying to find ways to prevent that. Like, it's a new city, so the wife and I have been like spending a lot of time exploring, and I think as long as I don't get like too obsessed with jiu-jitsu, like it doesn't become all I do during the day, like I go do other stuff. And as you guys know from my time at Limitless, I like to play some golf in the summers. So I have the day to go do that and do these other things. I think as long as I keep my life kind of balanced, I should be all right.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you should have some extra time now. I don't know, like if you plan on, going further into, making a living from jiu-jitsu, like doing some online privates or some like YouTube videos. Do you have any plans for any that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I've actually just started doing some online privates. I've got a couple clients I'm working with now, and
Nice.
I'm filming. I'm actually just in the process of editing. I'm going to start a Patreon, and I've got a plan that I want to do. I guess I'll talk about it here because this is a great platform to market it. Hopefully starting early January, my plan is to like make mini instructionals and put them on Patreon. So they're not going to be like the 2-3 hour long John Danaher slogs that you find on like BJJ Fanatics. And obviously, since like I'm the one editing them, the production quality is not going to be as good either, but it's going to be like $10-15 a month, and you get access to a new instructional every month. So, I think for a lot of people, paying $200 for an instructional is a lot of money. Like, let's be honest, $200 is a lot of money for a lot of people, but finding $10 a month, I think a lot of people can do that. And I think the quality of the actual material in the instructional will be just as good. So I'm working on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, BJJ Fanatics doesn't have the best, production value either, and they do just fine. So, yeah, anything you need, any help you need, I'm happy to help. Yeah. So, Mike, what's some updates about you? What's going on in your life?
It's not a lot of new with me lately. It's more of the same. I'm just working on my passing game in jiu-jitsu, and that's very frustrating because I spent 3 years basically pulling guard and letting people pass and trying to sweep. So it's been very frustrating I feel like a brand new white belt all over again.
What kind of passes are you working on?
Body lock pass, the arm weave pass a lot. I use that, but the body lock pass mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I like the body lock pass. For me, like, not a whole lot new. I mean, there is, but like, yeah, it's just hard to get into everything. But one thing that's kind of cool is I got a video coming up, or it's kind of like a project I'm working on. I'm taking a bodybuilder. He just started at the gym, and I'm going to turn him into like a jiu-jitsu beast. So like basically what's going to happen is he's going to compete in a tournament at Grappling Industries like around 30 days from now. And yeah, I'm just going to like give him privates every week, like 3 or 4 privates a week, and just like, developing him into this like phenom of a grappler, and see if I can, turn him into, a gold medalist within a month, which would be pretty pretty impressive if he can do that for both him and me. I'll be, happy with myself and my ability to, turn someone into a gold medalist. He's got a huge, a gold medalist so shortly. So, but he's got like a huge advantage, being a bodybuilder. I think they really understand like body mechanics, and, you tell them to do this and they do it, it's like they really can put instruction to use like right away, because what they've done is like pretty similar. Like, to have good form and lifting, you need to be very aware of your body and the mechanics of how people move. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I think I'm not sure if I'm going to do it like kind of like a fast style video, like Mr. Beast, or kind of similar to like the challenge video where it was like 8 to 12 minutes, or I might do it like where it's like half-hour long and kind of be like actual like episode, or like kind of like a mini documentary, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. And it's just fun too, like that's what I want to get into more, is like just like making stuff. Like I want to make documentaries. Like I've been thinking about Canada gives so many grants for like filmmaking and stuff. I thought about asking, or yeah, see if I can get one, and finding a good topic to make a documentary on, other than maybe I do jiu-jitsu, but yeah, maybe not, maybe something else. I'm not sure, but I think it'd be really fun. So I'm really excited for that project. And yeah, I don't really have any huge news. I'm thinking about taking an MMA fight, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's just like, I'm like watching UFC. Like I went to Vegas, right? And like I'm watching it. I'm like seeing guys like Paddy Pimblett fight. I'm like, I can beat you in an MMA fight. Like I don't think that's super controversial. I don't think he's like the most skilled guy in striking for sure. And then his jiu-jitsu is decent. It's decent, but I would argue mine's better, and my striking's better too. So it's kind of like a frustrating thing in a sense, like seeing someone you can beat, in the octagon, everyone, cheering your name, and I'm just in the stands. It's like, what am I doing? I gotta not waste potential, I think sometimes. But then on the other like side of the coin, it's like I don't really want to put in the physical preparation and everything that's required to succeed in MMA. It's like, I feel like I'm only 32, but I feel like still like kind of too old now. And we're in the sense of like, I just can't be bothered, not in the sense where my body isn't in its prime. I just feel like I can't be bothered. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I just need to get some motivation. To me, like, I love jiu-jitsu, but like MMA is a more of exciting of a medium to compete in, just because the consequence of like getting knocked out, and and the feeling of getting your hand raised in MMA, it's like such contrast, right? So but it makes it a lot more nerve-wracking too. Yeah, fighting MMA is extremely nerve-wracking.
If you were going to get ready for a fight, how many weeks is a camp generally?
Yeah, so like a good camp is between 12 and 8 weeks, and but the problem people make is they use that camp to get in shape. But what they should do is use it like 3 to 6 months, if not more, getting in shape first and then doing their camp after. So that's what I'd want to do, is like a whole 3-month block of general preparedness. So, you know, someone might look at me and say, oh yeah, you're in great shape, you know, because I like got a decent amount of muscle and everything. But it's like, no, like not to be a you know, a professional athlete, where you're, especially a combat sports athlete. It's like, you can't leave any stone unturned. You need to be completely, you know, in just phenomenal shape, and you cannot do that in 8 weeks. So, yeah, you know, and it'd be a huge commitment to do that. So we'll see what happens. You know, I might compete in jiu-jitsu too, but yeah, I don't know. I need to get the fire, you know, like the motivation. Because people think that it's so easy. It's just like, oh, you're good at jiu-jitsu or good at MMA, just go and do it. You know, just go compete to prove that you're as good as you think you are, or whatever. Well, it's like, you know, I don't really care that much. Like, I just you know, I just like doing my thing. I like teaching jiu-jitsu, but sometimes I do have that, you know, where I do want to compete. So just the motivation comes and goes. It's so hard.
There's a lot of sacrifice too. A lot of people don't know you have 3 kids and a business to run as well, right? You know.
Yeah, exactly. People, you know, they only see like such a small like glimpse of what's going on in someone's life, when there's so much more and so many contributing factors, and desire being one of the main ones. So, and yeah, one thing I want to talk about today, because I just find it really interesting with you know, just I guess all like the buzz is generating is artificial intelligence. So like, but within a jiu-jitsu context still. So like, you know, I'm curious and slightly worried in a sense that like well, just in general, that a lot of jobs all over the world will be obsolete from artificial intelligence. And then jiu-jitsu might be affected too. Like, I don't think as much, because it's such a physical thing that you need, you know, a physical person to do it, not a robot. But I think that it's like the start of some change. I don't know how far it can go, but yeah, well, how much do you think artificial intelligence can impact jiu-jitsu? We'll start with you, Joey. How much an impact do you think it will have?
I think it's definitely going to play a part, especially like at the high end and competitive levels. I mean, once AI gets good enough, you'd be silly not to use it to analyze matches. If you have opponents like, especially like for MMA fights and stuff, getting something to analyze tendencies, trends, patterns in your opponents that's better than a human eye, you'd be silly not to use it. I mean, if you could just, you know, link 5 videos into a computer program and it's going to tell you all these stats about the person, like what they like to do, patterns that they do, things they move. Like, think about jiu-jitsu, you know, you get a super fight match or something, and you can put your opponent's videos into an AI and it tells you like, hey, he always knee slide passes to the left, and his response to a knee shield is to do like it's just it's information that you'd be silly not to want. So I think once it gets good enough to be able to like analyze videos, it'll be really helpful. But until then, I don't know how much of a part it'll play.
Yeah, I agree. I think when it starts analyzing video is exactly when it'll be the biggest problem, because like, you know, someone like me, it's like I analyze, you know, rolling videos and jiu-jitsu in general. So will I even be needed if like artificial intelligence can do it better, which, you know, at some point it probably will be able to. And so I think that is a concern, and it kind of takes the creativity and excitement out of jiu-jitsu in a sense where it's like, it can almost become too systemized and too kind of robotic, I guess, you know, in the sense that, you know, only do this because this is what the computer says is best, which is best. But now you're only doing this, and maybe we throw techniques and positions kind of out of jiu-jitsu because it's been so figured out by the AI. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm not like super excited for AI's effect on jiu-jitsu, unless I'm pleasantly surprised and it does turn out pretty awesome.
I didn't really think about it like that it could actually take over a YouTuber's job to do, you know, commentary on fights and stuff. I never thought about it like that, but I think for it to analyze positions and techniques, I think it could be very beneficial to see what actually works and what doesn't, and throw out the bad and keep the good, you know.
Well, a good example too is not even just like, you know, rolling footage being analyzed, but also like content creation of like, you know, so for example, like I have a video, like unwritten rules of jiu-jitsu. I have how to get better at jiu-jitsu quickly. Well, those topics I probably could now put in AI to make for me and other topics like that. So that can do my job for me. And then you can also, there's like programs or maybe it's not AI, but it's definitely advanced, but it's like you have like a presenter and that says all the stuff, like they talk it out and it's completely artificial, but like they look like it's a real person talking and you would never be able to know the difference between them and but it's a real person talking, like it looks like it, but again, it's the computer. So yeah, you never be able to know the difference. So you could just have like a YouTube channel based entirely on AI. They're writing the articles, they're doing the talking head, like where the video's on you talking. And, potentially you'd even get it to make, I'm sure you can right now, get it to make thumbnails too, like make the best eye-popping thumbnail possible for this subject. And then it makes it, and it's like, holy crap, it's like way better than I could have done. So yeah, you can, again, have YouTube channels just run completely from computers. And I think that is very likely to happen for so many niches in YouTube, just because like there's something called automated YouTube channels, which is basically you kind of like have, so it's say I were to like start more channels, I could do it by hiring other people to do the stuff for me, right? And then I just make the like the income off of after I paid my employees. So a lot of people do that now. It's really popular. And when you can just get AI to do it instead of hiring people, well, it creates endless amount of YouTube channels for people to have, and just saturate the market without actual people behind it, really. So yeah, I think it's a concern for sure for content creation for jiu-jitsu to some extent, but it's not nearly as bad as other industries. Like, not to go too far off topic, but what do you think is like will be the most affected industry? I think one thing, copywriting and stuff like that will be. Anything that has to do with like writing, like even like what do you guys think will be most affected?
I think delivery jobs, if we're talking about AI that can drive vehicles and things like that, I think a lot of, cabs and people who deliver our food, the big transports, I think that'll be affected quite a bit.
Yeah, well, once we get self-driving cars, I don't think anyone's going to have a car anymore. So I think they'll just be, kind of like Uber in a sense. The self-driving car comes and picks you up and then takes you where you want to go and then goes someone else. And then it'll be a different car that picks you up to go. I don't think anyone own cars anymore.
I've actually heard that from a guy named Klaus Schwab, who runs the World Economic Forum. If I'm not mistaken, he said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Yeah. And that's basically what he means. Like, you don't need a car. You just bring it up on your phone. You got a car for the day, or for the ride. And then, it goes to the next person, things like that. So that stuff kind of scares the shit out of me a little bit. That's where I get nervous with AI.
But I mean, in that specific situation, I think that's great. Like I'd rather not own a car and not drive and have a car pick me up and I can just do whatever I want as it drives me somewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would think like insurance would go down considerably too, because accidents once it's fully self-driving, there shouldn't be any more accidents, right? Unless it's like a freak accident, like a deer, comes on, the road or whatever. But they should be like, I don't think we'll need, stoplights and stuff. And just the cars going multiple directions. They just know when they're going, and just like insane. So yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I believe I've heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this, and he said it would cut the rate of accidents down by like 90% It's insane.
Exactly. Joe, having like a science background that you have, like what are you concerned or worried about when it comes to AI and future technologies?
I definitely think things like transportation, like shipping, people who drive, because once that's automated, it's just, not only is it not necessary, but like, someone who drives like a transport truck, we're legally restricted in how long you can drive per day, just because humans need to sleep or else we get tired and crash and kill a bunch of people. Cars that are automated could drive all day. So why would you pay a human to do a job that I can get a car to do cheaper on its own? And I don't have to worry about it falling asleep, taking breaks. It's quicker. The other thing for me that I think is like, I don't know if a lot of people would agree with this, but I think teachers. Mm-hmm. I think teachers will be one of the first things to go. Why would I want a person teaching my kids who can be wrong about a lot of things or bring their own biases in? You and I both went to, I don't know if people know, but we went to like a Catholic school. Teachers teach, they bring their own, especially in science classes, if they're religious, they're bringing their own biases in. Having an artificial intelligence teach once it's strong enough is just there aren't biases. It's just giving you facts. It's not wrong. It can pull from all the information available, always give you updated facts, you know. Sure, we've all had teachers at some point in your life that were like late 60s when they were teaching you, and they're giving you facts, and you're like, that might have been true in like the 20s, but you know, like if you haven't gone back and refreshed knowledge, like especially in things like, you know, science, histories, geographies, things that change over time, maybe it's not up to date. Whereas an artificial intelligence will always be current, always be up to date, and almost always be right.
Yeah, exactly. I think also, which really impacts that too, is just like how good of a teacher artificial intelligence can be compared to you know, just like the average school teacher, which, you know, I think it can be much higher because you can program it to teach the most effective possible ways. And yeah, maybe you can teach kids in like 2 hours, which would have taken them, you know, all day to learn and be bored. And, you know, so I think it's going to make things a lot more efficient. And just to kind of you know, bridge topics to the next one because it's very related. Yeah, Joey mentioned we went to a Catholic Catholic school, and I taught my first like self-defense like kind of seminar just the other week to students of our old high school. And it's funny because like it was so they need like self-defense certification, and I'm like it has to be 3 hours, and I'm like well, it's like hard to teach people for 3 hours, and you know, it's hard to teach specifically self-defense too, when in my opinion, the real self-defense is learning MMA and training, you know, consistently for, you know, weekly for years. That's the only way to truly defend yourself. You can't just like take a 3-hour class, or even like, you know, a couple 3-hour classes, but you know, getting their certification, it's like a good intro to this kind of stuff. So I just like basically did an hour on kickboxing, an hour on jiu-jitsu, and an hour on MMA, just like a brief introduction. But the thing is, what I think is really funny, it's like I'm so unorganized and forget about stuff so much that it happened on the Monday, and it was Sunday night. They sent an email. It's like, we're all good for tomorrow. I'm like, oh shit, I totally forgot, you know. And I got to like plan this whole like 3-hour seminar within like you know, like 12 hours. And I'm like, well, I'll just do what I always do, which is wing it and, you know, hope for the best. And it turned out to be super good. Like they absolutely loved it. They wrote a great review on Google and just like how great of a time they had. And it's like, little did they know how unprepared I was for that whole thing. And yeah, it turned out to be just a huge A+. Just a great time and great experience for me too. But yeah, just on the subject of self-defense, because I see people say, you know, such different opinions when it comes to self-defense and jiu-jitsu. And, you know, one, I think it's really interesting because it's true, is that like when there's like self-defense focused jiu-jitsu, it's often just inferior jiu-jitsu that is not going to help you. It's like always some like crazy like wrist lock crap or like whatever it is. And it's just like, yeah, not always realistic. And I think that self-defense, I think people would be better off just kind of learning real jiu-jitsu without the self-defense kind of before it. And I think that's great self-defense for a grappling situation. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Joe?
I think a lot of people, when they take like self-defense courses, is they're looking for like one or two like magic moves that just somehow defend yourself. And like for anyone who's actually trained, the truth is like those don't exist. There's no like magic get out of jail free card. Like it's, if you're ever attacked or something and need to defend yourself, it's hard work. Like it's like being stuck in the bottom of a mountain. Like there's no magic pill to get out of the bottom of a mountain. Like it's going to be hard. You have to work. You know, that's part of the thing, is that this isn't easy. If it was easy, you know, people like you and I wouldn't have jobs teaching people how to do it. Like this is going to be hard. You just have to be aware of your situation. So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with sport jiu-jitsu for self-defense. I think it's fantastic. You just have to be aware. Like maybe on the streets, the berimbolo is not the best move to use. Like understand things that like more like, how do I phrase this? I guess I was having this conversation with someone the other day, and they asked me what the best singular technique from jiu-jitsu for self-defense was. And I've thought about it a lot, and I think it's the technical stand-up. Just the ability to get off of my butt, back up onto my feet without being pushed back to the ground or have my head smashed in.
Man,
knowing
100%.
like little things in jiu-jitsu that will help you. Like I know you're really big and you talk a lot on your channel about like preventing head control. Well, if I can prevent head control, I can probably prevent a guy from also smashing me in the face. That's self-defense. Just because we don't label it as self-defense or we don't teach it necessarily in that context doesn't mean that it doesn't serve that purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I think you bring up a good point about the technical stand up, and that's something I taught too at the seminar. And basically, my whole thing was with them it was like, this is just like an introduction to like martial arts, and like I kept explaining to them, you should never want to get in a fight at any time. Like, it's very bad. Avoid at all costs. And if you do, you know, you should definitely you're gonna wish you had training. So like, yeah, you should start training. So the whole kind of purpose of the seminar was to yeah, kind of like get them in the door of like not necessarily have to train in my gym because a lot of them are going to university like next year or whatever, but to train somewhere, and that'll be their best self-defense, not some, you know, magic, you know, what's the ultimate move? Because sometimes people ask me, like students or in the kids class, especially, it's like, well, couldn't they just do this if you do that? And I'm like, yeah, they could do that. That is an option, you know, and you know, like you said, jiu-jitsu's hard. It's like, that's one of my favorite quotes, or not quotes, but sayings, I guess, to tell people that jiu-jitsu is hard. And like, people just don't realize that how hard it is because they think they see black belts just like smashing and whatever, but it's like, it's still hard, you know, it's like never, you know, it's never really too easy.
I think a lot of people that take self-defense courses don't take into account the adrenaline rush that you get, and you can't. Some people are great in it. Some people flourish. Some people freeze. Right. I myself have been in a couple fights in my life, and I've froze a couple times. I just was flooded with adrenaline, didn't know what to do, tunnel vision, couldn't hear anything. It reminded me a lot of my first tournament, actually. I recommend going to a tournament if you want to know what really pressurized environment feels like, because it was quite similar, actually.
Yeah, like why does the body screw us like that? You know, it's like out of all things that could be doing right now before a fight or before a tournament, it's freaking making me frozen. You know what I mean? It's making me not be able to move. Like, this is not serving me well. You know, I don't get why biologically that's like something that's programmed to us. You know, you think it would be just
to be able to focus.
Yeah, or you think it'd be just fight or flight, not fight or freeze. Like, why does freeze got to be in there too?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because because I've had it too, and many people have the same experience. You know, you do a tournament and you just feel completely frozen, like you're underwater and you can't even move. Yeah. It's like, how is this helping me right now? Like, if this was a real self-defense situation, my own body might get me killed right now.
Yeah, your heart rate's jacked 140 just at rest, standing there. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's really shocking what your body, like, I know for me, I've almost been disqualified from matches because they're like, you know, you're up in a couple minutes. And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, I got to poop. Like, I don't have an option. I got to go. I got to go. And I always wondered, like, why is it right before my matches? Every match, I have to go to the washroom. And someone explained it to me once. They're like, it's your body's way of trying to like get stuff out so that if you're in a confrontation, like, it's not something you need to do in the middle of the confrontation. I'm like, well,
I mean,
like, that's a terrible biological response. Like, what, I just going to shit myself every time I have to fight? Like,
yeah, because if you don't clear yourself out beforehand, you will poop while you're grappling and fighting. Because I just saw, I saw on Reddit, there's a video of two guys fighting in like a locker room or something, and the one poops while they're fighting, and it's like, he obviously wasn't trying to, you know, it just like kind of came out. If I'm sure if he had the opportunity, he would have pooped before the fight, but maybe it was a spontaneous fight. He wasn't prepared for it. You know, didn't have the opportunity to take a shit. So can't blame him too much, but like, yeah, ideally poop first. But, yeah, you know, it's like, it's a weird body response. Like, I'm fighting right now, but I'm also pooping, you know, like, why? I don't know. But yeah, it does make sense biologically to get it out, but it's like, you know, it would be nice just to wait until the fight's over for sure. So,
oh yeah, it's definitely frustrating.
Yeah, like what else? What other physical symptoms do you guys feel like when you're really nervous for a match? Because for me, my hands get so cold, my feet too. It's like, I think it means like the blood's not going. It's not good blood flow. It's not going to your extremities.
For me, the number one side effect is rapid heart rate.
Oh yeah,
rapid heart rate and tunnel vision. Like my first tournament, I literally could. It was like I was looking through like a cone, and I couldn't hear a word you guys were saying. And my heart rate was probably literally 140 just standing there waiting to walk onto the mat. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. It was brutal.
Yeah. And it's like, shit, you know, I'm going to do something that's going to get my heart rate up. Like,
even more.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's already up. And like,
yeah, my max heart rate's probably 185. I don't have much to go, you know?
Yeah. I don't get why biologically we kind of self-destruct ourselves like that.
I think we get in our heads too. I know myself, I get in my head too much. And I think I have it figured out now for the next tournament I do. I think I've studied some methods, breathing methods to calm myself down, and it seems to help. And plus doing a couple of them makes it a little bit easier as well.
I wonder if like, in the past we like kind of became more like assimilated to these like high pressure situations because like, we're kind of like, I guess coddled in a sense of like the way modern society is now. We can like get food anytime we need to. Let's go to the grocery store. We've got shelter very easily. Where it's like in the past we had to like fight more and stuff. So I wonder if it was like after a certain point you're not really as nervous anymore. It's just like you got to get the job done, which I think maybe is like obviously it's the same thing as exposure therapy. But same thing with like a tournament. So the more you do, the easier it is. So it's always a crappy answer for me to be like, someone asks how do they, deal with nerves better at a tournament. And it's like, you just got to do it anyways and compete more. Like that's what's always worked for me. And, I'm sure there are, helpful things like breathing exercises you can do too, 100%. But I think, like the bulk of it just kind of comes from just doing and that exposure therapy. So yeah, just kind of the way it is. And some other topics we want to talk about is Gordon Ryan at the Nogi Worlds. Not Gordon Ryan at the Nogi Worlds, but Nogi Worlds in general. So Nogi Worlds, Gordon Ryan didn't do. But some of the people that did do it, USADA came and then they so the competitors left early because they're worried about getting tested for steroids. So if anyone doesn't know, USADA is United States Anti-Doping Agency. Yeah. So like, I think my opinion's actually changed on this since we first talked about steroids on the podcast, because when we first talked about it, I was, in my mind, I was like, well, everyone does it. So it's whatever, but then like, I kind of changed my mind when I've been thinking about competing more. I'm thinking, well, if everyone else is on steroids, maybe I should do, some cycles too, and just get jacked up like Gordon Ryan. Like, why can't I do that? Like morally, if he can do it and, if it's like a necessity to do, but then I'm like, well, I don't really want to, it's not great for your body, clearly. Like I'm seeing things like, how many bodybuilders die before they're 45 and they got all heart problems and all sorts of issues. And it's like, well, I don't want to risk all that. So, now that I see like USADA, like a legit organization is like, well, I don't want to say legit because there's some sketchy things that were done within the UFC, and John Jones and just a bunch of crap in general over there. So it's not completely clean as far as I know, but yeah, it is like a helpful step in the right direction. So, because I don't think jiu-jitsu athletes have much pull that way to like, get out of testing and kind of figure things out that way. So, I like that USADA was there, and it was kind of funny to all these competitors just, just leaving, just like going home early flights and everything to avoid it.
Who was it that pulled out at the finals?
Cyborg. Right, I believe it's Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg and Henry Ciccone, I think it's pronounced. Neither of them showed up for the finals for the absolute division. So I guess 2022 Nogi Worlds just has 2 third place finishers.
I thought that the IBJJF always tested the top 3.
Apparently they do test if you medal, but if you're not there, they won't follow you around looking for you to test you. They just test at the event.
Okay.
Has it always been USADA? Has it always been them, or is that new?
Yeah, since they adopted their anti-doping protocol, which I mean, I think most people who know anything about doping would agree that their anti-doping protocol is not effective. I mean, they only test you at the actual event. So people like, again, I'm not an expert on steroids, but I do have some knowledge. Like, obviously, if you knew you were being tested at that day, if you won, just cycle appropriately so that you're not positive. They can't test you during your training camp, during, if you only compete at the one major event. They can't test you for the other 11 months of the year. It's just the one day. So I find it really funny when people run to avoid the test. Like, that's an intelligence test, and you failed if you're going to pop positive on that day. Like, you just had to cycle correctly. No one's saying you couldn't have cheated all year round. Just do it properly.
Yeah, the half-life of testosterone, the most basic testosterone that people take is about 3.5 days. So, I mean, if they just cycled off a week beforehand, they should be clear.
And could they like just reduce their testosterone to like a level that looks natural enough, or would they be testing natural testosterone itself to see if it's endogenous?
I think they test free test compared to total test. It's like a ratio. USADA has a 6-to-1 ratio. So you're allowed to have a certain amount of testosterone in your body, like an elevated level. I believe I'm sure will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the 6-to-1 ratio free test to total test.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. And then I saw something like Daniel Cormier. I saw his like blood work, or the results of his blood work.
His was jacked.
Yeah, jacked like crazy. But it was, I guess it was, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it was within like the allowable or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was quite clear. It was quite clear still that it wasn't natural. So like, and maybe they should adjust their parameters. So yeah, I don't think it's like too hard to get around it. But one thing I was thinking, like, because Gordon Ryan is like, he's now on that UFC Fight Pass card, and like UFC is trying to push grappling a lot more, and they have, and the UFC clearly has, anti-doping policies. USADA, exactly. So like, I wonder if the grapplers that compete for that will start to get more stringent testing, just like UFC fighters do, or if it'll just kind of be like, half-assed still, because how can you do that and have Gordon Ryan, who's clearly juiced up, competing for your organization? So,
well, the whole reason they did it for UFC was to make it more mainstream and more palatable to everybody, right? So I think if they're going to do that, they're going to do that to jiu-jitsu as well. And you're going to see a lot of smaller guys, or guys looking a lot different in the next year if they do that.
Yeah, for sure. Which, I still think that watching two juiced up, jacked up dudes is more entertaining than if they're not, jacked up like that. But, I value their health more than my entertainment. So, it would be nice to have the sport cleaned up. And yeah, just one thing too, just for anyone listening, we can change our opinions, which is just fine, and I have changed my opinion. I don't think that, people should do steroids in jiu-jitsu, but especially MMA. So like, jiu-jitsu is one thing. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. But when you're punching someone in the face and you're all, on like trend or, just like test or whatever it is, you're just like taking all this stuff, it's like you can hurt the person. It's almost like creates like a more of a weapon out of you. And I don't think that that's cool. I think that's super messed up. Like Kamaru Usman is like for sure on some stuff, like definitely on some EPO. He's got insane cardio for how, jacked up he is. And he doesn't even, run or anything. And Derek from More Place, More Dates, he did like an analysis and he thinks that he's on steroids. And I just trust Derek because he's an expert. He knows way more than I do.
Very knowledgeable guy. I really, I watch a lot of his videos and I get a lot from him, but he'll tell you himself, he doesn't have a doctorate in anything. He doesn't have a master's or a PhD, but he has a lifetime of studying and doing these drugs as well. So he freely admits that, right? He's very knowledgeable at it though.
Yeah. I think, something that's interesting is that he is so knowledgeable despite not having academic background in it, and people trust his opinion and his knowledge because it's quite clear he knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
But then one thing that I see frustrating, like I see it on Reddit the most, is like people will be like, oh, you can only learn from high level competitors because, everyone else like doesn't have as good of stuff or whatever. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong? Yeah. You can be a great teacher and not be a competitor.
John Danaher.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you can be a great teacher and not be great and not be a competitor just fine. And, teach jiu-jitsu great. And most people understand that, in jiu-jitsu, but yeah, sometimes I see, comments like that on Reddit. I'm just like, like, screw you, it's always like probably lower belts that just like worship guys like Danaher. So
I think if you eat just a lot of liver and follow 9 tenets that I heard about online, that you get super jacked. I don't know if you guys have heard that same thing.
Well, I mean, realistically, you probably would get pretty jacked. I mean, I would like to see Liver King not on steroids. I'm sure he'd still be in pretty decent shape, right? Because I think like liver is good for you.
Well, and the bulk of his stack was growth hormone. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that growth hormone, you keep 100% of the benefits of it. Unlike certain steroids, you lose when you come off. I believe growth hormone is permanent, right? So he was spending $11,000 to $15,000 a month, which is not a small amount. That's like Mr. Olympia. You're in that area.
Yeah. Have you ever eaten liver?
Oh, fuck no. I can't even look at it, man. It grosses me out.
Have you eaten it, Joey?
No, it's terrible. I think I've tried it once and it's like, oh.
See, that's so funny for me being from like a German family. Like both my parents are German immigrants, and we used to eat liverwurst all the time, which is like basically like a liver like paste you kind of like put on your rye bread or whatever. And it was such a normal thing. And for me, but then I kind of realized, oh, like regular Canadians or whatever, like they don't eat liverwurst. Like this is like not normal to them.
Oh, I've had duck liver, foie gras, I think it's called. I've had duck liver. Yeah.
Was it good?
It was gross. Yeah. To me, it was gross. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I like liverwurst, so I don't know. Maybe you just got to try liverwurst.
Yeah, if you get me some, I'll try it.
All right, I'll get you some. So yeah, that was our Nogi Worlds discussion, and yeah, we did want to talk about Gordon Ryan too, and it also goes into the steroid type of stuff. Like, so Gordon Ryan competed against Nicky Rodriguez,
yeah,
right, and he accused Nicky of, and first off, just if you're watching the podcast itself, it definitely is weird that because I have a wide angle lens, my left arm looks so much smaller than my right. And people pointed that out in the tier list video. And I was like, holy shit. And now I'm looking now. It's like actually insane. This looks like so tiny.
Yeah, same.
This one looks big though. I don't know. But so yeah, Nicky against Gordon. And yeah, Gordon accused Nicky of greasing. So like,
or lotion, he said, yeah,
or lotion or whatever. So basically to make his body, harder to hold on to, which is especially, important in leg locks, and definitely jiu-jitsu in general becomes harder. The person's greased, but like leg locks specifically are going to be way harder to control. And yeah, so he accused him of that. But then Nicky's rebuttal to that was like, well, you're on steroids. So like, that's more cheating than greasing. And, I'm not convinced that Nicky is on steroids. I think he could definitely be natural. He doesn't look like a body type that's unachievable naturally. And he is such an athletic dude that, takes care of his body. Maybe he is on steroids, but maybe he's not. So I don't know. But yeah, like, what do you guys think about the whole situation?
I think that rash guards and spats would solve a lot of that problem. I think Gordon touched on that when he was being interviewed as well. I agree with that. And it's not too hard to, wear a long sleeve rash guard and spats. It solves that problem right there.
Yeah. But, at the same time, I feel like Nogi is all about not having a uniform. You know what I mean? So like you're adding like uniform requirements, and I like, I don't know if this sounds weird, but I like grappling without a shirt on, and I like watching other people without shirts on grapple.
Some of my favorite matches. Yeah. Wagner Rocha, when he fought in ADCC, it was great. Him, another guy. Yeah. It's just more primal. It looks, I agree with you.
Exactly. Like, I know what I mean. And like, oh, I like checking these guys out, like I don't, it's just, I just find it, like you said, kind of more primal, and it almost like makes it faster. It definitely makes it more slippery.
Yeah.
And yeah, it makes it way more chaotic, I guess is the right word, which I kind of enjoy. So I'm not a huge fan of like, having like uniform requirements. And but I think it is like definitely possible that Gordon or that Nicky greased. And because like, GSP greased back, maybe he did. He's accused of greasing.
Well, there's videos of them putting Vaseline on his back.
There you go.
His coach did it. His Muay Thai coach did it right on camera.
And at the time, was Danaher GSP's coach as well?
I'm not sure if Danaher
was. I do not know.
Yeah, I have to verify and check that, because I just think it's an interesting parallel. Even though Nicky's not Danaher's student anymore, he obviously was at one point. So
that was a very close match, though. Like with the EBI overtime, like, I mean, he almost beat Gordon Ryan. That was very close. He popped his ankle. Gordon said he broke his ankle, like with the toe hold, and that was a very close match.
Yeah, like I didn't watch it, so I wish I could give more of an opinion on it. But I'd be like pretty. I don't like the EBI overtime rule set of like, because I didn't watch the full match, but it would be like very frustrating for Gordon, I'm sure, if he like had a little bit less fast of an escape than Nicky, and then Nicky won. And, all like, but because in reality, Gordon is the better grappler at the current state. So, rules can be like kind of manipulated and taken advantage of, and, exploited basically to get the win, which not really anything wrong with that either, unless you're not greasing and, unless you're greasing and, taking steroids and stuff. But
so,
yeah,
I actually really don't think he was greasing, and I can give you my reason why. If you were competing against someone for money, and the person was greased up, the first thing I would do as soon as I grabbed them and felt and thought they were maybe greased is I would look at the ref and go, this guy's greased up, check him right here and right now. I'm not going to wait until the match is done and the other dude's gone home to be like, oh yeah, by the way, he was greasing. Now that no one can prove it or check, you would just immediately, I would be like, check that right here, right in the ring. Like, trying to think of the MMA fight, Nate Marquardt and Husamar Palhares, when they fought, Marquardt thought he was greasing, looked at the ref and said, he's all slippery. The ref checked him and said he's not. And then they kept going. But if you think someone's cheating in the moment, you're going to look at the ref and say, I think this guy is cheating right now. Check him. You're not going to wait until it's done.
Yeah, what happened there too? Didn't like Palhares like say something to the ref too, and then Nate Marquardt like knocked him out while he was talking to the ref? I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, that was a really, really peculiar fight. Palhares was an odd dude. He was a really odd fella. So I don't know if everything was quite right upstairs with him, but yeah.
Yeah, like the whole submission's pretty long for sure.
Yeah, for two or three organizations for doing so.
And I bet you he still doesn't like realize what he did wrong. He's probably like, "Oh, I wasn't holding it long. What are you guys talking about?"
Yeah, talk about a guy that likes his testosterone. He's a big dude.
Oh yeah, and you brought up a good point, Joey, about and then in there addressing it, because also I was watching an old boxing fight where I don't know, I can't remember their names, but it was like way back in the day. And the one guy, he took the padding out of his glove. And then when they fought, the other dude died after because it was so.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was right after the match, right then and there, the coach goes up and grabs his glove and he's feeling it and being like, this guy's got no padding. It's a modified glove, right? So I think if Gordon was concerned about that, he should have just right then and there been like, this guy's greasing, maybe like grab a towel or something, just swab him quick for they got to do a forensic check after. I don't know how, do you think that'd be expensive or even possible to like just take a quick sample and then send it off to some lab? I don't know if that's like available.
Oh, I'm sure they could swab them. It would say they do a test on it and say whatever came back on it.
I think you could probably just touch him and tell. Like,
yeah.
I know grease feels way different than sweat. Like, it's got a different texture. Like, if I was a ref and someone said he's greasing, I'm just gonna like touch his leg, and like I think almost instantly I could tell if it was sweat or if someone had put Vaseline on themselves. Like, you can feel the difference, and I just don't understand why someone would wait until afterward to complain. Because if Gordon had lost in the overtime and said this, now you just look like a sore loser.
Yeah.
And even if you win, now you're just looking like you're making excuses for it not going as well as you thought it would. If you really thought someone was cheating, you would bring it up at the moment to get that addressed during the match.
Well, like he did when the time ran out, he pointed at the clock and then he tapped. And that was kind of a big controversy there. Everybody thought he tapped Nicky Rod's face crank or whatever it was. But he pointed out to the ref, look, at the time is out.
Yeah, I mean, the match was over, do the same with greasing? And then...
Yeah. So what do you guys think though? Like, if someone drinks like olive oil or some type of oil beforehand, with the intention of sweating so that they're greased up, after the fact, it's like, is that cheating? Is there any rule says you can't drink olive oil before a match?
I don't know if you'd sweat it out enough that it would affect anything, but I know that what guys used to do, from what I've heard, is have a hot bath the night before and coat their back or legs or whatever in Vaseline and then dry themselves off. The pores close. And then when you start sweating again the next day in the match, the oils come out and it greases you up. At least from what I heard, that's what GSP used to do from, allegedly, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I think that's a wrestling tactic people do is they drink olive oil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I've never heard of that.
Have you heard of that, Joey?
I've never heard of it. I'm not sure if it would work, but either way, I think as soon as you start sweating, like if that does work and like the oils do sweat out, you'll still feel it. Like, you would,
but my question is that should that be illegal?
I mean, I guess
it's
I
a
don't
tough
know.
one.
I mean, I think if you really want to drink like a gallon of olive oil, go ahead, man. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Like if you want to cheat like that, okay, man, have fun.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, there are things you can do to kind of cheat, like, not showering before the competition, like days before it, and stinking. And yeah, that's kind of vile and nasty, but it definitely makes an impact. One time I had a super fight and the guy just freaking reeked so bad. I don't know if he did that or if he just always stinks, but like it definitely threw me off and like made me, it threw me off my game. So yeah, don't stink before a match, you know, and don't drink olive oil. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that you would sweat it out. I know you guys could be right, but maybe we should get someone to test it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
think
I don't like.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Me neither.
I don't know if it would sweat enough to make a like tangible difference.
Well, who's going to be the volunteer? Do we have any, listeners that want to test this theory out? Because it's kind of like 2 against 1 right now. Like Joey and Mike think that it wouldn't be a significant, difference. I think it would be. I don't know. I
want to put a disclaimer on that one. That one could be harmful to your health. Do it at your own risk.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, like, don't say that I told you to. Yeah. So, let's see what other topic we wanted to talk about today. Let's see. Yeah, I just was this interesting thing on Reddit. Just someone asked it, so I thought it'd be cool if we covered it. It says, professors, at what belt do you start rolling seriously with your students? And, I don't think it's any belt specifically for me, at least. It's just like when someone really starts to get more technical and they can kind of put the pace on a little bit more. And then I start rolling harder with them. One criticism that I've kind of had lately is like, because there's like a YouTube video out there and there's like a lot of comments about it. Is basically some people are kind of criticizing me, saying that I beat up my students and I kind of take beating them up to my advantage for YouTube or whatever. But it's like, first off, I'm doing this for education, not like vanity, and to have people tell me I'm good or whatever. That's what they're trying to say. But like, I don't think they realize too that I could go harder. Like I could go way harder if I wanted to and crush people way worse and just destroy them. But I don't do that. I kind of go a more of like a relaxed kind of pace, kind of, seeing what I can get. And, I have like a fundamental style mixed with like some flash, but like, I could definitely trash them, like not trash them. I could definitely like wreck them way more if I wanted to. So, I think people don't realize how much like black belts and their like instructors hold back when they're actually rolling with them. And one example too, like Jen back in the day, she asked me to go hard on her and like, like to put it on her 100%. I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that. Like, like I don't do that to anyone, but she's like insistent and she wanted to feel what it felt like. So I was like, okay, like I'll do it. But like Jen's tough too, like really solid, like tough girl. And like, she could take it and she asked for it. And I definitely like wrecked her pretty good. And I'm not bragging or anything. Just, man, people would accuse me of that maybe watch other channels, not mine. But I'm not bragging. I'm just saying like your professor, if you're getting wrecked by them right now, it'd be an interesting feeling for most people to ask them to even turn up even more and see how it goes. Like, have you ever had, Mike, anyone really turn it up like a higher belt and really just trying to beat the shit out of you?
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah, I've had that happen. And afterwards, I just talked to them and said, ask them to politely, please not do that. I have a job and I have to work the next day and I'm, a certain age and I just can't handle that kind of pressure. And they were cool about it. Yeah, I've never really had a problem after that. But yeah, I've had people go at me pretty hard. And yeah.
Yeah, I know, Joey. I'm sure you have, because we had the same former instructor who used to try to kill us every time we rolled. But other than him, or do you have any experience with that? Someone really trying to crush you and putting it on like extra?
Oh yeah, it happens a lot. Like most people know like I'm not a big guy, and I found, especially when you get visitors come in from other gyms who are like big purple belts or even large blue belts or brown belts. They almost like see the small black belt and go, I'm going to prove a point. Like I'm going to, be better. And like, they go hard and it's like, hey man, like you got to calm it down. Like, I don't want to be the guy that you prove a point with. That's what you want to do. That's cool, but do it with someone else. And even, coming up, you get people who maybe wanted to show off. I don't know, like when you're a blue belt and you're rolling with like a brown belt who maybe wants to show like how good they are. And it's like, hey, like not necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. Sorry. It's funny you mentioned that because I got offered like a super fight again in Montreal against a purple belt. I'm like, I don't want to drive 5 hours to compete against a purple belt. And it sounds very much like they want to try to use me to make a name for the guy. It's like, I can kind of see that. And like what's wrong? Like what's going on there? I think, just in general, I think a lot of people, they do want to like beat up like smaller black belts or whatever. so they have the ego boost. I think it's similar to me being a YouTuber. I think I really have a target on my back. People want to like beat me up for whatever reason, and you know, but they're not gonna be able to, and that's just the way it is. So, but yeah, like I know we went a little bit far off topic from this. So like how do you judge how much, like, you know, how hard to go on a student, and as they progress through the levels, like do you change it up, Joey, or you kind of just kind of the same throughout?
No, I really vary it. I try and like if I have someone getting ready for like a competition, I try and match what I think they're going to experience skill wise in a competition. Like if I have a white belt who wants to compete, it doesn't behoove either of us for me to go out there and smash him, because that's like, you know, if I'm playing like inverted guards and like doing a bunch of advanced stuff, like they're not going to see that in a competition. Why am I doing that with him? So I'm going to try and kind of mimic what they'll see. But you know, I'm sure you've been in the same spot where you kind of go light with like a good blue belt or a purple belt, and they catch you and you're like, oh, okay, well, now you have my respect. And I think some people think of it as like, oh, they got me and I'm going to like go try and smash them back to prove I'm better. And like, for me, it's not that. But like, if you catch me, like, well, now I have to respect your game and I'm not going to play around with you as much. And it's going to feel like I'm trying to smash you, but it's just me respecting your game a little bit more and not taking as many silly chances. So like, you know, some students, they catch you and you start going a little bit harder. And especially if they're like athletic or really technical and they can like push a pace, I'll go a little harder with you. But I think a lot like you, like, I don't really give people 100% because that's just how someone gets hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not always a fun way to roll either, going 100% every round. Like, you know, I think for me personally, I kind of dictate my intensity and my kind of goal of training based off how I'm feeling that day. So like sometimes I am pumped up and I'm like, I just want to like, I just want to go with just let's go hard. Let's have some fun. But then other times I'm like, you know, just rolling, you know, more gentle, more relaxed, just doing my thing. And other times, you know, I do let people get, you know, good position on me, or I'll give them like looks, like, you know, give them what like the technique of the day, like give that available to them so they can hit it, or just like, you know, do things that to see if they'll capitalize on it. So for example, like I was rolling with Alexi last night, and you know, I wanted him to try to triangle me because I wanted to just like, you know, work on my triangle defense, which I think is really, really good now, which is because I've been letting people put me in there, which is basically, if you can force someone's knees in front of their hips, it's very hard for them to close it, extremely hard. So all I do is just lean my weight into them. And it's such an easy thing to do. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I was like trying to get him to do it and he wasn't doing it. It's like, bro, you give a triangle right now. Like, I'm like giving it to you. You're not taking it, take it. But, you know, yeah. So like, I like to give people looks sometimes. And I got submitted the other day by a lower belt, but it wasn't like a big deal. You know, I think people got to get out of their heads where they think like, you know, like a lower belt tapping a black belt's a big deal, because a lot of times we're just messing around and not training super serious. Like, you know, I forget who it was. I think I let them have my back and I was kind of messing around. I mean, I don't know, they got a rear naked choke. I can't remember, but you know, it is good to have like kind of like play roles at times. But I think that if I only did play roles, that wouldn't be fun either. And so you have to have a good variety of what you're doing, because yeah, there's so many different skills you need to work on, not just defense through messing around or being creative, but you got to work on your offense too, and actually dominating, and without like putting that extra little bit either, because there's a difference between dominating someone and just wrecking them. You know, like in the YouTube videos, yeah, I dominate them, which I should because I'm their coach. You know, I should be able to beat them, but I don't just wreck them. And yeah, again, I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to do that because I've experienced that where someone tries to absolutely kill me, which, yeah, that's an issue. But it's not an issue if your instructor just, you know, gently beats you up. It's not a big deal, you know? So.
Yeah. And about that, when people roll you on camera, they're always happy afterwards. It's not like it's, you know, they're angry that they're going to be on YouTube and people are going to see it. They're usually happy because you point out their game, where their mistakes are, and they get to learn directly off of that. I've never seen anybody upset about their video being posted on there. They're usually happy about it and laugh about it.
Exactly. Most people volunteer, and because they want to be helping the YouTube channel, they think it's fun. They think it's, you know, fun to get beat up by me, and they fully expect it. No big deal. And some people will ask, and they're fine with it too. But yeah, most people do volunteer, and you know, it's always like if someone doesn't want to post it, I will not post it after. I'll ask them before I even start working on it, is this okay? If you're sure it's okay, you want to see it first? And everyone's always cool. I've only had 3 people tell me no. And those 3 people, I didn't post it. So yeah, it's, to be honest, it's been kind of getting me down a little bit, just seeing some comments like that of, basically saying, yeah, like I beat up my students for my own personal gain and everything. And, yeah, it makes me feel a little bad. That's also why I haven't really posted, I haven't really got any new grappling footage in a while, just because it kind of just, tainted it a little bit. So I got to get out of that mindset.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like your videos, your channel, for that reason as well. That's, that's why you have so many followers, because they like that style. I wouldn't, just my own advice, I don't know what it's worth, but I wouldn't let, a couple people on the internet get you down and change your format of videos. What's got you to the dance? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It's like,
I know, but it's hard though, right?
It's freaking hard.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Yeah.
I've done a good job of dealing well with most criticism, but then, yeah, that one just like got to me a little bit, especially when, it's just like people that should just be supporting everyone and, other channels and everything. So yeah, just, the way she goes. The thing is, like, people don't realize the point of the channel is in the name of the channel. It's Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu. But then I have people saying like, oh, I just try to beat people up so people tell me how good I am, all this stuff. It's like, guys, I do not care about that. Like, I'm just teaching jiu-jitsu. But yeah, rant over. I can't. I don't want to rant too much about it. Let's talk about one more thing, and then we'll call it a day. Just our kind of 2023 goals. So kind of touched on it a little bit, I guess, but not fully. So what are your goals for next year, Mike?
Hopefully I'd like to compete. If I can get this nerve thing down, I'd like to compete. And hopefully next year in 2023, I'd like to get, maybe a goal is to get a purple belt, maybe, or not. If I'm not ready, I understand 100%. If I am, that'd be a cool thing to work for. I need to work on my passing a lot more. And that's my goals for 2023.
So Joey, what are your 2023 goals? Are they competition related? Are they jiu-jitsu related? Or what are they?
Like I want to jiu-jitsu related. Like I'd really like to, like I was talking about earlier with the Patreon. Like I want to get that going and hopefully get that at least like paying for itself. I want to compete a little bit more regularly and hopefully have some success. I want to win an IBJJF medal at like gold at black belt, not like worlds or anything, but even just a local one. The last one I did, I think I got 2 silvers or something, which fucking sucks.
Sorry, pretty good though for black belt. Pretty good.
But you know how it feels. Like you lose in the finals and you're like, man,
yeah,
so close. So I want to do that. Most importantly, as a coach, though, like I know I've got a lot of people I'm working with right now who want to compete, and I just want to see some of the students that I'm training with who maybe like haven't won gold medals before, like under previous coaches at the gym, or like just haven't won yet. Like I want to help push them that little extra bit to help them get their first gold. That's what I really want to see. Like I want the people I'm teaching and working with to hit those levels of success that they haven't had yet. That's my big one. Not quite jiu-jitsu related, but I've just started like weightlifting again to get a little stronger. And I want to hit the 1,000-pound club. So that's, for people who don't know, squat, deadlift, and bench, the total weight for all of those for your 1 rep max of 1,000 pounds. I think that would be fun to do. I'm not super, super far off. I tried it the other day. So I think it's doable in 2023.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's some great goals and pretty similar to mine. I want to see, so many of our students, get gold medals, especially like the kids, adults too. But it always makes me feel bad, seeing kids lose, especially because, I know they can achieve more, like it, and I know I can get them to gold medals. So, a lot of them have done well. Like provincials, we did pretty well. We got like 3 gold medals out of 7, a bunch of silvers. But, I want everyone to win gold, and so they feel good about it. And so I got to keep working, because that's on me. I got to keep working to improve my teaching, improve my ability to, get them ready for tournaments. And I've kind of view when they lose, it's like my fault. So I got to keep working in 2023 on that. And a couple other things, like mostly I just want to have like motivation for everything in life right now. So like right now, I'm kind of just going through like a huge like lull of just, I don't know, lack of motivation to do anything. So that's why I haven't posted on YouTube in a while. The podcast has been kind of inconsistent. So sorry, everyone, all the listeners, that's largely my fault. I want to get more consistent and more motivation to, prepare my body physically, by lifting, doing more cardio, more motivation to train. And that's mostly what it is. Just like, just don't have the motivation right now. So yeah, I really hope, that I can get back on track in 2023 for sure. That's the main thing. Yeah, maybe MMA fight, but again, that's all tied into like motivation. So, other than that, I just don't really have many goals, which kind of sounds sad in a sense. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's because all the goals require motivation, and when you're not feeling any motivation, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, I feel like I'm just waiting right now, to get the motivation to do some things. And, I think it's like just one of the things, like I've been doing jiu-jitsu like 10 years, and, it's like, I've kind of like conquered it in a sense, like, black belt, pretty good. And, I want to like conquer something else and not do jiu-jitsu, but I want to do something else too. And it's just hard to figure out what that is, where to spend my time and energy, and, where it's going to make me happy and keep me interested. So
it's something not to do with combat sports or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like ideally not. I really want to make a documentary, but the hard part is, which is the same thing with the YouTube videos. It's like the execution. It's like, anyone can have an idea for a video or a documentary, but it's like, how do you make it so perfect of an idea that everyone wants to watch it and it's a success? So it can be a hard thing that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, one last thing I was gonna say.
The Jedi trip, how was that?
Yeah, the Jedi trip was pretty good. No, it wasn't good. Not because of Jedi. It was just okay. So we went to Las Vegas, right? And I didn't realize December in Las Vegas is actually pretty cold. So it's like, it was only 13 degrees Celsius, which I don't know for the Americans what that is Fahrenheit. I got no idea. But like, yeah, it's pretty cold in December. So all I wanted to do was go on vacation and just sit out in the sun, by the pool, relax. But it was like, oh crap, we did not check the forecast before booking these tickets, and we don't drink, we don't, gamble. So like, there wasn't much to do in Las Vegas other than spend a lot of money on food that was just like, okay, mediocre. And then we didn't really do much. We just like, roll a Jedi. And, I didn't roll great in the videos. I was just really like not feeling like rolling and just no energy, but they turned out pretty good. But again, I need some motivation. That's what it is. Yeah. So thank you guys for listening to the Talk-Jitsu podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to check out the sponsor, X Marshall, and get 10% off your order by using Jordan 10. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. That's it.